P6 pupils. Once again, I'm here to take you through science, and my name is Juliet Kalungi, your teacher of science today. This is the second lesson with you people. I know you followed me in the previous lesson, and in that previous lesson I left you with an exercise to do, and maybe before then I've already told you it is science P6 once again, and our topic still goes or still continues the circulatory system. And under the circulatory system we are continuing to look at the components or the organs that help in the process of circulating, or in the process of blood moving and oxygen into our body. And we said those were blood vessels, the heart, and blood itself. Those are the components that make up the circulatory system. And we said we shall start with one component at a go, and we started with the blood vessels as it is written there. And I left you with an exercise to do. I'm not going to go through the whole lesson that we did last time, but we are going to go through the homework, the activity that I left you with. And I remember we had our number one, which was asking us what we understand by the circulatory system. And I believe learners, you were able to do that work well. Following the work that I gave you, I believe you were able to answer that question correctly. I'm also going to emphasize on the answer that I expect you to have written according to that question. What do you understand by the circulatory system? Pupils, I know most of you gave this answer, that the circulatory system is a group of body organs which help to transport oxygen and other materials in the body. If you have that answer, that means you were correct according to the question that I gave you. I gave you question number 2, which was asking you to write down the body organs that make up the circulatory system. And I remember explaining to you children that the circulatory system is made up of 2 body organs, and one of them is the heart and the blood vessels. So children, check your work on that activity, on that question number 2. If your answer is the blood vessels and the heart, you're very correct. We are going through the activity I left you with, children, looking at the previous lesson. I also gave you number 3, which was asking you what are blood vessels. And children, I expect most of you to have passed that question looking at the work that I gave you, and your answer should be as follows. Blood vessels are tubes through which blood passes when going to different parts of the body, when going to and from different parts of the body. Let me hope learners, you have that same answer according to the previous lesson. And according to the previous lesson, I also gave you question number 4, which was asking you to write the 3 types of blood vessels. Children, your answers, these are the expected answers. I expect you to have written veins, you must have written arteries and capillaries. Those are the 3 kinds. Those are the 3 main types of blood vessels that we have, children. That was our question number 4. Looking at the previous lesson, I've told you we are looking at the activity that I left you with before we can go into today's lesson. I had a question number 5, which was asking you, why are arteries made up of thick walls? Why are arteries made up of thick walls? And children, according to that question, I expect all of you to have the following answer, that arteries are made up of thick walls because they carry blood at a high pressure. That is the first way you can answer that question. Or you can still say they are made up of thick walls because they carry blood, they carry oxygenated blood. Because oxygenated blood, children, as we go into the details, you're going to get to know that it is carried at a high pressure. And maybe another person can also write that arteries have thick walls in order to withstand the pressure at which blood is pumped through them. So there's 3 ways you can give your answer depending on that question. And then I also gave you the last question, which was saying you draw and name the structure of an artery. And I put that on the board, children. I believe you can be able to draw. Look at our work that we did in the previous lesson. The diagram was reflected there. So you must have drawn it very well. You must have labeled it very well. It has the thick walls and the narrow lumen, which is blood passage. So children, with that, let me hope you all did our activity very well. I'll be happy to know that you did the activity very well and you passed it according to what we learned. And that is part of the previous lesson. Today, children, I'm here again to continue with the same topic. Already reflected on our board that it is the circulatory system, and we are continuing with blood vessels. And I told you have 3 kinds of blood vessels, and we looked at only one, and that were the arteries. I'm not going to go into the details again. We are looking at another blood vessel, which are, maybe before then, children, something small that I want to remind you about the arteries. I want to remind you about the arteries. This is a small continuation on the previous work. Small continuation that in the body we have the biggest artery that we really need to know, and the biggest or largest artery in the body is called the aorta. It's called the aorta. When we go into the details, when we're looking at the heart, we are going to locate all those blood vessels on the heart. That will be another lesson in the time to come. So it's just a continuation. We are going to say the largest artery. The largest artery in the body. The largest artery in the body. The largest artery in the body is called. The largest artery in the body is called the aorta. The largest artery in the body is called the aorta. That word is aorta. That's the largest artery in the body. I've told you that when we go to looking at the structure of the heart, we shall locate all these blood vessels, children, and you'll get to know where they are located on the heart. So the aorta, this is also another small word that you can be able to write very easily by looking at the small words in this word. When you look at the word aorta, we have article a, and the small word here is or, then ta, or ta. So it's very easy for you to remember and even write that word aorta. So you're going to be asked several times that what name is given to the largest artery in the body, and the largest artery in the body is called the aorta. Children, I already told you in the previous lesson that arteries have thick walls because they carry blood with a high pressure. Arteries have thick walls because they carry blood with a high pressure. Maybe I need also to put that one as our number. This is more continuation, that arteries carry blood. Arteries carry blood with a high pressure. Arteries carry blood with a high pressure, and that's why they have arteries carry blood with a high pressure, and that's the reason why they have thick walls. So we say arteries have thick walls because they carry blood. Arteries carry blood with a high pressure. This one is answering our question that we shall meet on several occasions in our exams, that why do arteries have thick walls? And your answer will be arteries carry blood with a high pressure. And then on arteries again, I believe you have gone to the hospital, you or your parents or any other person, and you've seen doctors trying to measure people's blood pressure. That blood pressure is measured in the hospital by a device or by an instrument that is termed as blood pressure meter. It's called blood pressure meter, though we have a scientific term which is a bit big. We shall write it on the blackboard. So I'm going to say blood pressure is measured by a device called blood pressure is measured Our number 3, blood pressure. Blood pressure is measured. Blood pressure is measured by a device. Blood pressure is measured by a device. Blood pressure is measured by a device called blood pressure meter. Blood pressure meter. Device called blood pressure. Blood pressure meter. This is just a common word that we can use, though it has a scientific word, and that scientific word we are going to write it on the blackboard and be able to read it after we have written it. After we have written it, it is called the Sygomomanometer. 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 Wow. Yeah, this is now the scientific term that is given to that device that is used to measure blood pressure. When you go to hospital, it is put on your hand. You have seen your parents, maybe yourself. If you had a problem with the pressure, then they will put it on your hand and then measure your blood pressure. The common word, you can call it blood pressure meter, but it has a scientific term which is called the Sygomomanometer. Sygomomanometer. Yeah, children, it's a very simple word. We can learn it by looking at the small words in it. Small words in it. We have the word nometer, we have the word man, we have the word meter, and so many other words. So practice makes perfect. Practice, you'll be able to write this word. I've told you the word is read as Sygomomanometer. Sygomomanometer, or the blood pressure meter. That is what doctors in hospitals use to measure people's blood pressure, which you have seen them put on someone's hand and be able to find out the blood pressure. Actually, the blood pressure is caused by the heartbeat. So the heartbeat causes the kind of blood pressure that you have. Children, I told you that was a small continuation on the previous work. We are going to look at another kind of blood vessel, which are the veins. Yeah, this is now another kind of blood vessel. The veins, we are also going to talk about them, and when we are talking about these blood vessels, in most cases we refer to them in terms of their characteristics. We are going to say that veins are thin-walled blood vessels. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels. Children, veins are thin-walled. Veins are thin-walled. Thin-walled blood vessels. Blood vessels. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. They carry blood towards the heart. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. Towards the heart. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood. Remember, children, in the beginning I told you that blood vessels are tubes that carry blood. But when they carry blood, they carry different type of blood. When we're looking at the arteries, we said these are thick-walled. They are actually different depending on the type of blood they carry, or depending on the type of blood, on the type of work they do perform. We said arteries have thick-walled. And when we come to the veins, you can see there is a difference between the veins and arteries. That veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. And of course, there is that reason. Why are they thin-walled? Maybe before I can really tell you, though I was going to reach at that later on, that they are thin-walled because they carry blood at a low pressure. And when you come to arteries, they carry blood with a high pressure, and that's why their walls are very much circular. They are very strong and thick, so that they shouldn't collapse in the process of carrying that blood that has a very high pressure. So when we come to veins, they carry blood at a low pressure. They are composed, they're not at any pressure when they're carrying this blood. That is our number one. That veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. They carry blood towards the heart, or they return blood to the heart. We're going to number two. Maybe before you go into the other characteristics similar to this, I'm going to tell you the largest vein in the body. Like we have the largest artery in the body, which is called the aorta. We also have the largest vein in the body. And that largest vein in the body is called the vena cava. The largest vein in the body. So that is going to be our number two. The largest or biggest vein. The largest vein. The largest vein in the body. The largest vein in the body is called, the largest vein in the body is called the vena cava. Vena cava. Actually, these are written as two words. Vena cava. Vena cava. This is the name given to the largest vein in the body. Let me hope you're following, children. We are looking at another kind of blood vessels. In our previous lesson, we looked at arteries, and now we are looking at veins. We are saying veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart, or they are thin-walled blood vessels that return blood to the heart. The largest vein in the body, children, is called the vena cava. Very simple word, vena cava, written as two words. And maybe after knowing the largest vein in the body, children, I've told you in other lessons to come, we shall look at the heart, we shall locate all these blood vessels, and you will see them on the heart. That's why we can be able to locate them properly. On our third number, we want to look at the characteristics of veins. What are these veins? How do they look like? What are they in common? So, characteristics of veins is our number three. Characteristics. Characteristics of veins. Children, that is our number three today. Characteristics of veins. And we are going to say that veins have the following characteristics. Veins have the following. I'm going to write on the blackboard and say veins have the following. Veins have characteristics. Veins have the following characteristics. Yeah, we are going to write them down. Veins have the following characteristics, children. And I know some of you who read ahead, you already know the characteristics. And you're going to answer with me as I write them on the blackboard. You're also answering them there where you are seated right now. At home, you're giving the characteristics of veins. And characteristic number one, or A, characteristics A, we are going actually to get it from our definition of veins. And veins are thin-walled. That means characteristic number one says that veins have thin walls. Veins have thin walls. That is characteristic number one. Veins have thin walls. Veins have thin walls. Or veins are thin-walled. That is a characteristic. Coming back to arteries, you're going to see for them they are thick-walled, and yet veins are thin-walled. That's the difference. And I've already told you why are they thin-walled. Because they carry blood at a low pressure. We have characteristic part part B or number 2, and that one is that most veins carry deoxygenated blood. I'm going to use the word most, and I'll explain to you later on why I've used the word most. Most veins carry deoxygenated blood. Most veins, that is another characteristic of veins, that most veins carry deoxygenated blood. Most veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein. Now we're going to look at names of these veins. We have already looked at the vena cava, which is the biggest vein. Now we are looking at another vein, which is called the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein is the only vein that carries oxygenated blood, that is from the lungs to the heart. And of course, when blood is coming from the lungs, it is obviously oxygenated. That's the reason why it goes to the lungs. We are going to look at that later on, but I think I can bring it right now, that blood goes to the lungs to be oxygenated, to pick oxygen. So oxygenated blood is that blood with more oxygen. And when we come back to our characteristic number 2, which says that most veins carry deoxygenated blood. Most veins carry deoxygenated blood. Children, I've already told you we are looking at the characteristics of veins. And we have looked at the first characteristic, which says veins have thin walls. Characteristic number 2 says most veins carry deoxygenated I missed the word blood. It's supposed to be deoxygenated blood. And we have deoxygenated blood. I missed the word blood, sorry about that. Let's put it there. Deoxygenated, most veins carry deoxygenated blood, except most veins carry deoxygenated blood, except the pulmonary vein. Now if they ask you to write any one name of a vein that you know in the body, we have the vena cava already as the biggest vein in the body, and then we have also another called the pulmonary vein. Actually this one, in terms of veins, it is called a special vein because it goes away from what veins do. Actually veins carry deoxygenated blood except or apart from the pulmonary vein. And I've already told you that the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. That's why we say that veins return blood back to the heart. While the vena cava here, the biggest vein, carries blood from all parts of the body to the heart. It carries blood from all parts of the body. That is now the vena cava. That's why we keep saying that veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards the heart. The vena cava carries blood from all parts of the body to the heart. And the pulmonary vein carries blood from the lungs to the heart. So that one now confirms our definition that veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood towards. It is either carrying from the body to the heart, or it is carrying from the lungs back to the heart. So I think that point has gotten into your mind, children. We have another characteristic of veins. And another characteristic of veins says that veins carry blood of low pressure. Veins carry blood of low pressure. Veins carry blood. Veins carry blood. Veins carry blood of low pressure. Veins carry blood of low pressure. Veins carry blood of low. Now, when we go back to the arteries, you remember I told you that arteries carry blood over high pressure. When we come to the veins, they carry blood over low pressure. So in the time to come, children, I'm going to ask you to write for me the difference between these two. And I think the differences are already reflected in what we are writing right now. veins carry blood over low pressure, and that is why they have thin walls. That is why they have thin walls. That is why they have thin walls. So if you're asked in the future or at any one time that why do veins have thin walls, and your answer is going to be veins have thin walls because they carry blood of a low pressure, or because they carry blood at a low pressure. You keep reflecting. I like teaching while comparing the previous work. When we go to the arteries, they carry blood at a high pressure, and you know that's why they have thick walls, and the opposite of thin is thick. So these ones have that. We have another characteristic, number 4. Characteristic number 4 says that veins have valves. Veins have valves. Veins have valves. Children, the word is valves. Vein have valves. That word is valves. Valves. V-A-L-V-E-S. The word is valves. Veins have valves. Why do we have these valves? These valves are not decorating the veins, children, but they have a reason. And actually that reason, they have valves to prevent the backflow of blood in the heart. To prevent, veins have valves to prevent. Veins have valves to prevent the backflow. Or you can say the backward flow or the backflow. Veins have valves to prevent the backflow of blood. Veins have valves to prevent the backflow of blood. And maybe I have the structure, the diagram here. Let me look at the characteristics, then we can look at the structure. That veins carry deoxygenated blood. Most veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. I've already told you, this one carries blood from the lungs back to the heart. While the vena cava is carrying from all parts, from your head, from the hand, to the heart, so that the heart can pump that blood to the lungs to be oxygenated. Again, it comes back to the heart, and the heart will again pump it back to the body. And maybe in the future, I will tell you that we shall look at circulation when I go to the heart, and I will tell you the types of circulation. That's what we call double circulation. The blood comes to the heart, goes out of the heart, comes back to the heart, and then back to the body. That you will understand that, don't worry, children. Looking at the characteristic, we have said they have thin walls and they are less muscular. They are not so strong like the arteries are. And then another one, they carry blood towards the heart. That is another one, we already put it here. And then blood flows at a low pressure, I've told you that. And they have a wide lumen. Yeah, it's another characteristic that runners. We are writing the last characteristic of veins. I've already written the others, and we have the last one, which says that veins have a wide lumen. Veins have a wide lumen. This is characteristic number E. Veins have a wide lumen. Yeah, veins have a wide lumen. I explained this in the beginning, that lumen simply means the passage of blood. This is a scientific word to mean the passage of blood. So veins have a wide lumen. That is a characteristic among the others we have already written. And now with me here, children, we have the diagram of a vein. The diagram of a vein, and actually this diagram is reflecting the characteristics that we have talked about. Some of them can be reflected here. Like we said, veins have thin walls, so the wall is thin, and I told you it is thin because it carries blood at a low pressure. And then we said veins have a wide lumen. This is where blood passes through the veins, so the passage is wide compared to the one of the arteries that is narrow. And when we have another characteristic reflected on the diagram, which says that veins have valves. You can see these valves here. They come and wait as blood passes through the veins, the valves will close up to prevent the blood from going back to where it is coming from. So that's why we say that valves prevent the backward flow of blood in the veins. The backward flow of blood in the veins. That when blood is passing through, this is the blood passage, which is called the lumen, and it is a wide lumen for the veins. So as blood passes through this passage, goes through the valves will close up to prevent the blood from flowing back to where it is coming from. So this is the diagram of the veins, children. Very easy diagram with small parts for you to label: the thin walls, the wide lumen, which is the passage of blood, and the valves. Children, valves prevent the backward flow of blood in the veins, the backward flow of blood in the heart. Actually, these valves are compared to one part of the thermometer. I told you, children, I like teaching when I'm comparing things, so that it is the way of also reminding ourselves. Because it is also another question. We are going to ask you the similarity between the valve and a clinical thermometer. A clinical thermometer has a part that prevents the backflow of mercury. So I want to remind you, children, you're going to find that question asking you the similarity between a valve and the kink or a bend on a clinical thermometer. So you can also find it there. And in a clinical thermometer, we say it is used to prevent the backward flow of mercury. But when we come to the veins, it is not called a bend, it is not called a kink, it is called the valves. They have the similar function. I want to ask you the similarity between those two. The similarity between the valves, right here, the valves which we are looking at now in the veins, and the other is called the kink. A kink is found on a clinical thermometer, children. You must have learned this in your P5 work. When they ask you the similarity between the two, what you have to say is that they both prevent the backward flow. And you stop at that, because this one prevents the backward flow of blood in the veins, while this one is preventing the backward flow of mercury in a clinical thermometer. So you don't have to continue to tell what they prevent, but you say both valves and a kink prevent the backward flow of and you stop at that. Thank you, children. I just wanted to bring in this because it is very important. You're going to be asked about it. And don't ask yourself, when did we learn this? When you're learning about valves, we remind you about the kink because they carry out the same function. So this is the diagram of a vein, children. We have looked at the characteristics of veins. And now the next thing, we are going to give the differences between veins and arteries. When you look at these two blood vessels, they have a lot that is different between. They are really different. They are really different. And the differences, we are going really to get them from what we have already learned. You go back to your work on arteries we did in the previous lesson. You come to the veins. You will be able to pick out those differences. How are they different? So it is our next part, saying the differences between arteries and veins. Have you seen any difference? Any difference in them? We are going to answer them with me as I write them here. You're also writing them down there in your book or somewhere else. So differences between arteries and veins. 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 Children, the differences, we have them already. We have talked about them. We just want to summarize them in one piece. Otherwise, it's what we have been talking about. Differences. What differences have you seen? We are going to start with arteries. Arteries have the following differences between arteries and veins. I'm not going to use the word while, but remember in exams, when you're asked to give the difference between a subject or something, you're supposed to say while. But we're going to write them because we want to have them differently. But when it comes to the next one, they ask you, write one difference between an artery and a vein. You're supposed to say, arteries have this, while veins have that. That's when we are giving differences. Arteries have this, yet veins. Arteries have this, but veins. So I'm not going to use that format, but I'm telling you when we are answering, that's what I want to see in your books. But I'm going to write veins, write their difference, and then arteries, their differences. Then I will give you another something to emphasize about them. So I'm going to look at arteries. I give the differences. It would be in the form of a table whereby I would write arteries and then veins this side. Continue with the differences between arteries and veins. We're going to write this side arteries and that side of veins. But I've already explained to you what you do when it comes in exams. You don't draw a table like I'm going to do. You don't write this side and that side. But when we are giving differences, we use the words, we use the word while, we also use the word yet, we also use the word but, or even instead. So that's what we use in terms if you're writing in a sentence form. But for us, we're going to write this side of arteries and this side of veins. So we're looking at the difference. And difference number one, children, we are going to say that arteries carry, I know children, you already know what type of blood is carried by most arteries. I told you most arteries carry oxygenated blood. So we are going to say arteries carry oxygenated blood, except the pulmonary artery. Arteries carry oxygenated blood. They carry oxygenated blood, except the pulmonary artery. Yeah, that's the first difference. That arteries, or in other words, we say most arteries carry oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood is blood with a lot of oxygen. It is carried by most arteries. Apart from the pulmonary artery, children, maybe I need to remind you that pulmonary artery carries blood from the heart to the lungs. I've emphasized it already that blood is carried to the lungs in order to be oxygenated. Then it will come back to the heart and the heart will pump it back to the body. So that is the first difference. When we say arteries carry, it is very easy also to tell the difference this side. So this side we are going to say veins carry. Arteries carry oxygenated blood. Then here veins carry deoxygenated blood. Veins carry deoxygenated blood. Veins carry deoxygenated blood, except the other special vein, which we call the pulmonary veins. Veins carry deoxygenated blood, except the pulmonary vein. Except the pulmonary vein. So that's why we call it a special vein, and so it's called a special artery. While all arteries are carrying oxygenated blood, for it carries deoxygenated. When we come to veins, most of them carry deoxygenated blood in nature. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But the pulmonary vein says, no, me I will do the other way around. So for it carries oxygenated blood now from the lungs back to the heart. This one is carrying from the heart to the lungs. Then from the lungs back to the heart. So I hope you get those two. That's the first difference. When it comes in an exam and you want to use the same difference, use the word while. That veins carry this while arteries like that. Difference number two. You skip a line there and write the second difference, which says that arteries have we have thick and masecular walls. They have thick and masecular or strong walls. Arteries have thick and masecular walls. Also, I've already told you why they have strong walls, because they have to withstand the pressure at which blood is pumped through them. Now, if these ones have thick walls, what do veins have? You already know, children, and the opposite of thick is thin. So we are going to say veins have. skip a line and say veins have thin and less muscular walls. Less muscular. That is it. So we say veins have thin walls. I already told you they have thin walls because they carry blood at a low pressure. Then we have another difference, and children, I've already told you, when it comes in an exam and you want to use this difference for your answer, you say arteries have thick walls, yet veins have, or arteries have thick walls, while, so you know the words to use when you're giving a difference. We have characteristic number 3, which it says that arteries carry blood away from the heart. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Arteries carry blood. They carry blood away from the heart. What do veins do? It is the opposite of away. For them, the veins carry blood towards. Veins carry blood towards the heart. Veins carry blood towards the heart. Veins carry blood. They carry blood towards the heart. They carry blood towards the heart. Yeah, that's another difference. You're going to look at the other differences. They are quite a lot, but we shall be able to write all of them down here and then be able now to learn and be able to write them later on when we're asked. Another one is arteries. Arteries do not have valves. Arteries, so this is the side of arteries. I'm going to fix that side of veins, this side also. Then the veins here. Still we are looking at the other differences. Arteries, they do not have. Arteries do not have. Arteries do not have valves. Arteries do not have valves. Now when we come to the veins, we say they have valves. They have. Veins have. They have valves. And I've already told you the importance of these valves is to prevent the backward flow of blood in the veins. Another characteristic, this has been number 4. Number 5. Number 5 says that arteries carry blood, arteries carry blood at a high pressure. Arteries, they carry blood at a high pressure. They carry blood at a high pressure. They carry blood at a high pressure. Carry blood at high pressure. What happens when we come to the veins? We say they carry blood at a low pressure. They carry blood at a low pressure. At a low pressure. They carry blood at a low pressure, and that's why they are thin-walled. They carry blood at a high pressure, and that's why they are thick-walled. Then another difference, we have talked about valves. Arteries have a wide, arteries have a narrow lumen. Arteries have, this is number 6, difference number 6. Arteries, they have, arteries have the narrow lumen. Yes, the arteries have the narrow lumen. That passage of blood in the arteries is very narrow. When we come to the veins, we say veins have a wide lumen. Veins have a wide lumen. I don't want to keep repeating, I said lumen is the passage of blood. We have talked about the characteristic. Talked about the thick walls. They write about the thick walls. Carry oxygenated blood. They have thick walls, thin walls. have narrow lumen, wide lumen, have valves, don't have valves. So these are some of the differences, children. These are some of the differences between arteries and veins. I'm going to go through them very fast, and then I'll tell you something about them. Arteries carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery, and I said most arteries do that. Then arteries have thick and muscular walls. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. What do veins do? Veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. Veins have thin and less muscular walls. Sorry, I missed the word. Less muscular walls. And then veins carry blood towards the heart, while arteries carry blood away from the heart. Arteries do not have valves, while veins have valves. The arteries carry blood at a high pressure, while veins carry blood at a low pressure. Arteries have a narrow lumen, while veins have a wide lumen. That's how we write them in terms of exams, in terms of answering a question. Now, children, there's something I want to remind you about these differences. They're going to ask you to write the functional difference. Some of these differences, some are functional, others are structural. Some are functional, while others are structural. The word is functional. Children, some differences are functional, while other differences are structural. Functional differences. I'm not going to write them down, but I'm reminding you that this is how they ask you in exams. This is how you're asked in exams. Functional difference. Functional differences. Okay, children, having looked at the characteristics, having looked at the arteries, the veins, their differences, we are going to stop here today. And next time when I come back, I'm going from these differences between arteries and veins. I'm going to help you to pick out the functional differences and those that are structural. And I will explain more about this next time. So for today, children, we have ended by looking at the differences between arteries and veins. And I will not forget next time when I come, this is where we shall start from. And also be able to give you an activity in the coming lesson. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. Now stay home and stay safe. See you next time.